Okay, everybody. So this article dropped in the British GQ magazine. I guess it was today, and yeah, September 2nd. And it's John Boyega talking about his experience with the Star Wars films. And the headline says it all. John Boyega. I'm the only cast member whose experience of Star Wars was based on their race, and he goes into some pretty good detail about some of the things that went on, and how his role was marginalized as the films went on. And I, for one, was someone who said this as well, because in the first film and all the marketing materials with JJ, Finn was like, had the lightsaber. There's a shot of him like with the lightsaber like this, and it says Destiny, reborn or something like that. And in the marketing material, I'll put a picture up so everybody can see. And he was this guy who, the idea was he would probably go on, and then you see they hint at this in the other two films, especially the third one that JJ came back for, that he was force sensitive. And I think if JJ would have filmed all three movies and did not and wrote the second film and not left it to Rian Johnson to kind of screw everything up, that he the last movie ended up being more of a retcon, a fan pleaser. Because the second one divided everybody. I mean, you took this character, which I love, The Force Awakens. I thought it was fantastic. I thought John Boyega did an amazing job in the movie. He was my favorite character in the film. I'm up next to Han Solo, obviously. But, they established him as this great character. And then all of a sudden, the next film, he's on some wild goose chase, with another character that it just seems like in the article, John Boyega, is quoted as saying like, they didn't know how to deal. They didn't know what to do with these characters because they were characters of race. And he said in the first film, he ended up being the guy that took the brunt of that. Now, when it came to like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, because, when it was revealed that he was a stormtrooper in the first trailer, there was a small sect of people that were very loud on Twitter. Remember, Twitter only has like 38 million people on it in the US, and we have 330 million people in the United States. So when people start screaming on Twitter, it's people within their own bubble. And, but they're loud. And, apparently he was getting death threats for being a black stormtrooper. How could you be in this movie? How could you be, holding a lightsaber like you're black? Like all this kind of stuff, which is weird because, you had Mace Windu, played by Samuel L. Jackson in the prequels. And then, of course, you had Billy D. Williams in 1980, released in 81, Empire Strikes Back, playing Lando Calrissian. And the thing that's interesting about that is, and I've had conversations with a friend of mine who was like, well, Billy D. Williams didn't face this kind of backlash. And I said, yeah, but social media didn't exist. And people, people have the right to freedom of speech, but in all reality, not everyone needs to be heard because there's a lot of assholes out there and that'll just say horrible things and do horrible things. But it just goes to show you that, like, I knew over time, I mean, even Oscar Isaac had come out and said that I think his character was mishandled in the Last Jedi, and then, just a parody of what the potential was from The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker. And, these guys are contractually obligated to come back and to give the best performances they can give, and they did. Their acting was great, and with all three Star Wars films, all of the special effects were amazing. All the craftsmanship with the creature effects and things like that were amazing. So it wasn't like, $200 million movie wasn't well put together. But what they did with his storyline and how they kind of killed his arc in the second film because, he fought Captain Phasma and killed her. And in all reality, that should have kind of taken place over a 3-film arc versus just wrapping that up in the second episode, and then just having him, ride creatures, that are, and go on this expedition that ended up not getting anything out of it. They went on this expedition to try to find this character, this code breaker, so that they could break the code to get into the Star Destroyer. And then once they get, it's like the whole thing was for nothing. It's like they should have just stayed on the ship and tried to figure out how to, get to light speed or do another, the whole thing was just, it was a mess. And a lot of people argue with me all the time on social media about, why I hate The Last Jedi, but it really did screw up everything. And I think John Boyega, even talking about race and how he was the only one that experienced race because, like Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver, they were handled properly, but he was kind of left in the lurch because he's African-American. Or, British. He's a black Nigerian. Yeah, right. He's from Nigeria, right? Yeah, he's from Nigeria. So he's an African. So it's just one of those deals where it's just a shame that he has felt this way the whole time. But it is what it is at this point, and it's a shame because they could have done a better job handling his character. And he did say he would never come back to the Star Wars franchise. So did Harrison Ford, and then Harrison Ford came back not for one but for 2 more, even though the last one was kind of a glorified cameo because they had to figure out how to patch up the movies since Carrie Fisher had passed away, and they needed one extra little oomph after they decided to kill Luke Skywalker off in the second film and had nowhere to go. It's one of those deals where he was part of an amazing franchise and was not handled properly. And I agree 100% with his perspective. And it's a shame. And then, when you hear stuff like Daisy Ridley cried when she heard the announcement that J.J. Abrams was coming back to do The Rise of Skywalker, you go, oh, yeah, because she really probably had a shitty experience with Rian Johnson. As much as everybody wants to candy coat that, even Mark Hamill, hated everything that he had to do. And no matter what anybody says, he had to candy coat that because Disney finally came down on him for constantly shitting on the movie that Rian Johnson had put together. But he really screwed up the franchise, and John Boyega should have ended up being a Jedi Knight by the end of the 3rd film, or in some capacity be in training to set him up for future films. Maybe he'll get a Disney Plus series. Who knows? And if he did get a Disney Plus series, maybe that they would handle him a lot better. But in the end, I feel like John Boyega has every right to bitch. So does Oscar Isaac. He said he wouldn't come back unless he needed a new house to do something for Star Wars. And I feel like a lot of people over time will start expressing their opinions about how the ball was fumbled after an amazing start with The Force Awakens. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. And tell me what you guys think in the comment section. We'll see you on the next one.